What if I told you there's an entire country that looks like a movie set on the outside, but is a psychological pressure cooker on the inside? What if the smiling faces you see in North Korean propaganda aren't smiling out of joy, but out of sheer survival instinct? This isn't fiction. This isn't exaggerated. And this isn't the version you get on mainstream news. This is the real North Korea, the daily reality of 25 million. People trapped inside a system that doesn't just control your job, your food, or your money. It controls your thoughts, your emotions, your very identity. Stick with me for the next few minutes, because by the end of this, you'll never see North Korea or authoritarianism the same way again. Let's dive in. Let's start by tearing down the illusion. You've seen the images. Missile parades, Kim Jong-un waving from a balcony, perfectly choreographed performances. You've seen Pyongyang clean, organized, filled with lights. But what you haven't seen is what happens when you drive 5 miles outside of that capital. That's where things break. That's where the real North Korea begins. Now here's something that'll shock you. Over 70% of people inside North Korea don't survive on government rations. They survive on illegal markets. Let me say that again. The very people who are supposed to rely on the state for food, housing, income, are surviving by working outside the state, illegally, quietly, risking prison every day to feed their families. And here's where things get really twisted. The regime knows this, and sometimes it lets it happen. Why? Because if they shut it all down, people would starve. The country would collapse. That's the knife's edge people live on every single day, caught between obeying the law and staying alive. Now, imagine living your life under constant surveillance, not the kind where your phone tracks you. I mean literal surveillance. Your neighbor reports on you. Your coworkers report on you. Your own children could report on you if you say the wrong thing at dinner. In North Korea, every adult is required to be part of what they call organizational life. That means attending weekly meetings, making public confessions, watching propaganda films, praising the leader, and reporting on others. It's not optional. It's mandatory. And it's terrifying. People go to self-criticism sessions and admit things like being late to work or having unpatriotic thoughts. And here's the crazy part. If you don't confess something, that's suspicious. But if you confess too much, that's dangerous. So what do? You lie. You fabricate minor sins just to play the game. That's how deep the manipulation runs. And while all this is happening, while you're pretending to be a loyal citizen on the surface, you're also trying to survive. You go to work, but that job pays almost nothing, maybe a few kilograms of rice a month. So you take time off to go sell things illegally. You trade vegetables. You resell soap. You buy a second-hand Chinese USB stick filled with K-dramas, not for entertainment, but because it gives you a glimpse of a world you've been told doesn't exist. Now, let's talk about the youth. They are the wild card in this entire equation. North Korea's biggest internal threat isn't an invasion or a bomb. It's a teenager with a flash drive. Think about that. A teenager watching a South Korean drama suddenly realizes, wait a minute, people down there aren't starving. They aren't living in fear. They have phones. They wear jeans. They fall in love. That's why the regime cracked down so hard in recent years. In 2022, a young man was executed. Yes, executed for distributing South Korean media. This isn't symbolic punishment. It's strategic. Because the leadership knows the most dangerous thing in the world is not a weapon. It's an idea. Let's not sugarcoat it. North Korea still runs prison camps. Political prison camps. These are not rumors. They are documented by satellite, confirmed by defectors, and detailed in UN reports. Places like Camp 14 and Camp 16 are hell on earth. Inmates there don't get trials. Many were born into the camps because their grandparents said something negative about the regime 50 years ago. Whole families disappear. People are worked to death. They're tortured. They're starved. And the worst part? Most North Koreans outside these camps don't even know they exist. That's because knowledge itself is forbidden. You might ask, is this just life in the countryside? Maybe Pyongyang is different. Sure, in a way. Pyongyang is like a bubble. It's clean. It's decorated. It has more food, more electricity, better schools. But here's the catch. You can't live there unless the government says you can. You need to have status. You need to be loyal. Pyongyang is a reward, not a right. Meanwhile, outside that bubble, people in rural towns deal with blackouts that last 4 days. Hospitals without medicine and schools without pencils. Entire families share one winter coat. That's not just poverty. That's managed deprivation. And while all this is happening, state television plays videos of soldiers dancing and children singing songs about how great the leader is. Every building has portraits of the ruling family. You don't just display them, you clean them regularly. If there's a fire, the law says, save the portraits first. Your own family comes second. This is not just physical control. It's psychological architecture. It's designed to make the leader feel omnipresent. As if he's in your house, in your thoughts, even in your dreams. Let's stop for a second and talk numbers. Not opinions. Not narratives. Just the data. Over 91% of North Koreans surveyed in a 2024 defector study admitted to watching foreign media at least once per month. 72% said their main household income came from illegal or unofficial markets. More than half to 58% said they believe unification with South Korea will happen in their lifetime. Nearly every single one of them said they think unification is necessary. These aren't just opinions. These are quiet acts of rebellion. Every bootleg film watched in secret. Every band song sung in a whisper. Every trade at a black market stall. These are the invisible cracks in the regime's iron wall. Now here's something most people overlook. What this kind of life does to your mind. Imagine waking up every day knowing your life can end over a sentence. Imagine watching your father get arrested for using slang that sounds too South Korean. Imagine knowing your child's future depends not on their skills or dreams, but on how obedient you are today. It creates a psychological cage. People live with dual personalities, the person they show the state and the person they really are, buried deep. It creates generational trauma. Kids grow up learning to lie before they learn to write. Women pretend to cry in public ceremonies. Men praise leaders they secretly resent. You live a life of masks. And yet, people find ways to survive. They find ways to smile, to love, to dream. And in the darkest moments, that's the scariest thing for a dictator. The idea that even in chains, people can still imagine freedom. Let's zoom out for a second. In 2024, the regime strengthened ties with Russia, reportedly, receiving submarine assistance that could expand their nuclear capabilities. China continues to exploit North Korean labor, using them in factories while funding the regime in return. Inside the country, inflation is making life harder. Rice prices have doubled. Medicine is scarce. The black market is growing even bigger, even riskier. And yet, young people still smuggle in K-pop. Families still trade goods behind the regime's back. And more, the illusion of total control is breaking down. So what does this all mean? It means that while the world watches missiles, the real story is happening inside, in the homes, in the markets, in the hearts of people who are waking up to something different. Slowly, quietly, powerfully. So, why should you care? Because this isn't just about one isolated dictatorship. This is about understanding how control works, how fear is manufactured, how resistance grows not from guns, but from markets, from media, from the human need to connect and imagine something better. North Korea isn't just a country. It's a warning, a mirror, a lesson. And for every person who understands that, the illusion cracks just a little more. Here's your bonus tip, and this is especially for creators, researchers, or anyone trying to raise awareness. The most powerful way to connect people to North Korea's reality. Use micro-stories, not just data or headlines. Ask defectors specific human questions like, what did your school lunch look like? Or what was your first memory of seeing electricity at night? One detail tells more than 1,000 stats. One real answer breaks the wall of abstraction. Now here's your challenge, and this could make this video go viral. First, like this video if it made you feel anything at all. Sadness, anger, empathy, doesn't matter. Just react. Second, share this with one person who still thinks North Korea is just about nukes and generals. Show them the humans behind the headlines.